Guys, go follow Keith. He's got a brand new book, Primal Rising, right?
Primal Uprising.
Uprising. I knew I missaid it. So thank you. So go check that out, you guys. And it's all about this topic we're talking about here, breaking free from victimhood to empowerment. Again, raise your hand if you want to talk to me and Keith, and we'll get you up on stage in a minute. Before I get to Vaughn, I want to talk about kind of this whole idea that people don't value themselves enough, and that's why they stay the victim. And so when you devalue yourself, and maybe you play a little bit of imposter syndrome of, oh, I don't belong here, and you stay in these limiting beliefs that keep you there, that keeps them in the victim. And then they wonder again, why can't I ever be empowered?
Right, totally. And I think that's another big trap too, is not to value yourself highly, right? In our society, and we can go way down a rabbit hole. I believe there is a reason why we're conditioned as such, but we feel selfish, right? If we put ourselves first, if we, shower ourselves with praise and shower ourselves with accomplishment and striving and all of that. And the truth of the matter is, at least from my perspective, and I will say this too, that I am the world's leading expert on one thing and one thing only, and that is my perspective.
Yes.
So take all of this with a grain of salt, right? I speak as if I know what the hell I'm talking about, and I do, because it is my perspective. So I'll just say that as a caveat. But I do believe that is a self-limiting mindset, because in the same way that you cannot love another until you love yourself fully, you cannot help another, you cannot help society if you are playing low. If you are playing low ball, you are not helping society. Even though you may say up, down, and sideways you are, and that's what you live for, you are not. You are cutting yourself off at the knees if you don't put yourself first. Be loud, be proud, and own your genius.
Woo, woo, woo. Dude, you are talking my language. I love this, because people don't want to put in that effort. And I know some people in the audience that I know personally are doing that work. And definitely, guys, raise your hand if you want to come up here and talk to us. But yeah, that'll preach, dude. So that's good stuff. Vaughn, let's go over to you now. What you got for us, bro?
Hey, Jimmy. Hey, Keith. It was a little bit by accident, because I hit the plus button because I wanted to ping so many people in this room, because you're speaking my language, right?
Right on.
This is it, and I say this a lot of times, like, it's the perception that you create around things, and it's something that I continually work on, right? Like, I believe that it's something, becoming, empowering yourself through that victimhood, right? Like, I think the foundations that we've grown up in, like you said, our childhoods from 0 to 7, and truthfully from 7 to 18, and even beyond, right? Mm-hmm. Because so much starts as the foundation, like for myself, growing up with an alcoholic father, mentally, physically abusive, you're never going to be good enough. You're not this, not that. So those things are the things that I choose to kind of use as my springboard. And is it always easy? No, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I choose to use that to become better, like to overcome, to become. But, it's not always easy, right? Like, there's certain things that I'm working on now, and I continue to work on. Even like Jimmy said, the imposter syndrome and things like that. I think our self-doubt can creep in no matter who we are, right?
Right.
At certain levels in life. So I appreciate. I'm following you. I turned the bell on here to follow you on Clubhouse. I'm following you on Instagram because the way you speak and what you talk is not only what I believe in and preach, but what I also need to hear. Right. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Vaughn.
Right on. Thank you, Vaughn.
Any comments, Keith?
Yeah, I would say that. Yes, to Vaughn's point, our psyche is not fully evolved until we are 25, 26 for males, and a little bit earlier for females. And there's different, if you study psychology, there are different aspects of malleability as we progress in age, and where we turn our attention to at various stages of our lives. It's just the most malleable and the absolute most malleable you are is from 0 to 7. So
isn't that funny that at like 18 we expect kids to figure out what the major is for the rest of their life that would determine their career?
Jimmy, I always say that I still don't know that if I'm fully developed. I don't know, but at 18, oh my God,
no,
I was not at all. I was physically mature, and I was mature in a lot of ways, but as far as being able to make life-changing decisions, no way.
Well, a lot of people get married at that age as well. Go ahead.
And my viewpoint of life, my ability to control myself, all of that was not hardwired in.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I was still very malleable at that time.
Yes.
Look, I bought in hook, line, and sinker, the whole American dream idea. I bought into that. I, went through the military, which is a type of brainwashing, yes. I went through all that. And in fact, when I was in the service and went through one of the schools, which was essentially evasion tactics, which they took examples from the Korean and Vietnam War of what happened to POWs and how those POWs were manipulated psychologically. And they created a training program out of that, how to counter those effects. And it wasn't until I went through that school that I was like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I just went through this whole, my career here. I'm being manipulated on the other side over here. So I see how this game is played. But it's just, it's just kind of funny. We are all susceptible to it, yes. And we can become less so susceptible to it if you know how the game is played.
Yeah.
And that is key. Know how the game is played and know that you are being manipulated. Every day you are being manipulated. Sometimes in good ways.
Yes.
Mostly in ways that would benefit somebody, not you. So wouldn't you at least like to know how the game is played so you can counter those measures, if need be, if you want to be?
Yes, and the food companies are very good at that manipulation in their marketing.
Yes,
and our next guest, next one up is Suzanne Ryan, very famous author in the keto world, Simply Keto, Beyond Simply Keto. She's been doing a lot of this breaking free from victimhood work on herself. What's up, Suzanne?
Hey guys, love this conversation. Actually, Jimmy and I were just talking about this very thing of when you get older and you kind of realize all these stories that you took on at times where your brain really wasn't at a developmental stage to really assess, like, does this belong to me? Does this not? Is this like total BS? Like, so I would just love to hear from you, Keith. Like, I know for me, I had to go through a lot of struggles to actually like uncover this and then go through counseling to be like, oh, this is a thing. Like, what are some like actionable steps that you think people can kind of do to like get this process going to realize these stories? Because it's tough when sometimes you have to go through so much before you're like, oh. So what are some things that you recommend?
Oh, totally. So here's one thing that anybody can do. I would study as much as possible the works of Robert Cialdini. Right? Robert Cialdini was one of the much of an offshoot of his work is accepted in NLP work, right? Neuro-linguistic programming. NLP gets a bad rap a lot of times because it's seen as swarmy, it's seen as manipulative, it's seen as it's got a marketing edge, it's got all of that. And yes, it can be used for that because it is persuasion, right? Like any tool, it can be used for good, it can be used for bad. I equate NLP to money because money is the same way, right? And I went through a long period of time where I thought money was evil. My upbringing, if it had to do with money, it was like rich people are rich for one reason, and one reason only. It's because they fuck somebody over to get it. And we do not do that in this household. We do not do that in this community. We are fine, upstanding, blue-collar people. We do not do that. The message I got was remain poor and you're a good person, right? So that is something that I had to untie. I was like, money doesn't have anything at all with me being a good person. Me being a good person is a standalone. What I do with money, I can do great evil. I can control people. I can do all kinds of dastardly things with it. And I can do so much good with it.
Yeah.
I can create new worlds. I can change lives. I can do all of these things. In fact, now I am like, show me the money, because I've got a world to change and I need to grease the skids.
That's
more money.
That's
bring it in.
So my view of things of more money I can make is the more good I can do.
Hell yes. Bring it on. Give it to me. I will change the world with it.
Yes.
So in the same way, my knowledge of NLP, could I use it for marketing and manipulation and yada, yada, all that? Absolutely, I could. Look, I know how this propaganda game is played. I've lived it. I've been to military school with it. NLP is just an offshoot of that. Could I use it for that? Hell yeah, I could use it for that. And I choose not to use it for that. I choose to change lives with it.
Yes, our mutual friend Dan French, who is a rhetorician PhD, he would call that ethical versus unethical use of that kind of mentality.
Totally.
Yeah.
And part of the ethical use, in my opinion, in my perspective, again, the only thing I am an expert in, is to tell people up front, I'm going to be working with you. We've identified a certain area of your life to change. I am going to use these techniques on you. Are you cool with that? I tell people up front, are you cool with that?
Love it.
Know that this is how I'm going to work. This is one of the tools in my tool bag. So Suzanne, that's where I would start, and that's on one level. On another level, and this may be very controversial here, but Michelle and I also do psychedelic work, right? So why does NLP, why is that so effective? Because one of the first steps when you're working with somebody in NLP is you put them in a state of trance. And I'm not talking about the public perception of trance with the watch swinging back and forth and that kind of stuff. That's not what I'm talking about. It is putting somebody in a state of relaxation to where they are then neurologically pliable. Once they're in that state, you can begin to work with them to change. We're talking about subconscious stories, to change the story if they so choose. Go back, find the offensive action, change that story if they so choose. It either extract it by the roots or rewrite it. What story do you want to tell yourself when you're operating 95% of the time in your subconscious? What story do you want to tell yourself?
Yep.
So so here's the thing with psychedelics. And if anyone wants to jump into psychedelics and kind of get your, just kind of dip your toes in the water, Michael Pollan wrote a great book that's kind of the entry level psychedelics meets Midwest U.S. It's called How to Change Your Mind.
Cool.
So the whole thing with psychedelics, it puts you in that trance state so that you can then go in and make changes in your subconscious. That's all it is. It's a fast track. I hope that answered your question.
Thank you, Suzanne. So, Lindsay, you're up next. What you got for us?
Hi, good morning, everyone.
Hey.
Hi.
Glad to be here with you all.
Thanks for being here.
Well, I have a question or comment/question. So, as we're going from victimhood to empowerment, and as we go to take our experiences and are on our journey, I think for me, in my experience, we've never quite arrived. We're just at a different plane of empowerment or a different plane of enlightenment.
Yep.
At what point would someone be able to reach back and help someone else? Because if we're waiting till we've quote unquote arrived, what are your thoughts on that?
Lindsay, I would say right now, you are one step ahead of somebody else, right? And somebody is one step ahead of you. Nobody on this earth is there, right? Myself included, I am not there. And I am one step ahead of a lot of people. And I have mentors who are one step ahead of me. So when I asked myself the same question a while back, because I had big time imposter syndrome around this, who am I to help anybody? Look at my life. Who am I? I mean, look at this mess. Who am I to help anybody? And the answer I got was, who are you not to help somebody? There are people one step behind you who would love to have every freaking problem you have.